the graduating class of 2016. It's been a long journey, but we finally made it. I remember when Michelle Lyman told me I had to get my GED because I couldn't continue with the early school leavers program. Honestly, I was devastated. I had no idea how I would be able to tell my parents that I was once again dropped because of poor attendance. I could already hear their disappointment. My freshman year of high school, I was the person in class who spoke as little as possible and hated being the center of attention. Shocking, right? My weakest subject was algebra. I hated asking questions. I always felt like I was the only person in the room who didn't understand what was being taught, so I didn't ask for help when I most desperately needed it. And because of that, I went home unable to do homework and I ended up failing Algebra 1, and I was told that I'd have to make it out my sophomore year. I wasn't happy about it, but I was confident that I'd pass the next time. Sophomore year came around and I get my schedule and I was put into geometry and physics. Wasn't I supposed to be in algebra and make it up? Instead of doing the smart thing and going to my counselor and asking about it, I was like, well, hey, maybe they messed up and said that I passed my freshman year. I was wrong. Oh, they messed up, but it wasn't the way I was hoping. Turned out I had slipped through the cracks and was mistakenly put in geometry and physics. So because nobody noticed right away, I was only able to take one semester of algebra, which means I wouldn't have gotten all my credits. And because you can only take algebra twice in high school, I didn't graduate. The hardest part of not graduating for me was being in band and having to play in the graduation ceremony. Sitting around everyone in my graduating class, people to the left and right of me in their cap and gown, asking why I wasn't wearing one. I was too embarrassed to say I didn't graduate, so I made up an excuse. I almost didn't go, but I went to support my sister and my friends because they were all graduating. I was so proud of my sister because she was able to beat her disability and graduate. At the ceremony, they say hold all applause until the end, but nobody ever listens to that. So when her name was called, I screamed and clapped and showed her how proud I was. Since that day, people in my family always got on my case about when are you going to get your diploma, when are you going to finish school. And that summer, I actually was enrolled in the early school leavers program at the city center campus. I went every Thursday for a few months, and everything was going well. I was getting a lot done, and I was also working at a job that allowed me to leave to go to my classes. I had so much support from friends and family, and even some coworkers. And then I ended up in a terrible, controlling relationship where I wasn't allowed to have friends, I wasn't allowed to see my family, and I wasn't allowed to leave work to go to school. I soon was dropped from that program because of so many missed days. I soon after was able to walk away from that and slowly build a new amazing supportive relationship with my current boyfriend, Tyler. Tyler and my parents pushed me to get back into the program, so I did. My teacher was Miss Constable, who I'm soon to learn would be a huge part of my success. This time around, though, my job wasn't as lenient with my school schedule, so again, I was dropped for poor attendance because work was more important than school. Once I was dropped for the second time, I had to meet with Michelle Lyman, who told me that I had used up all my chances and my only choice was to take the GED class. When I heard those 3 letters, I began to cry. I was so set on getting an actual diploma that I didn't want to hear anything else. I had heard that getting a GED is a lot harder, and I knew I would have to go back and learn every subject I already learned in high school, when the only reason I was in this predicament is because I didn't pass algebra. Michelle reassured me that the GED program at the main campus would show me that I would like to be a college student, that this is where I was meant to be. She told me how much faith she had in me, and she knew this program would open many doors for me. Not seeing it at the time, still a little disappointed, I agreed to take the assessment test. When I got home, I knew I had to tell my parents that I was dropped from my early school leaver program and would have to get my GED. When I finally got the courage to tell them, my parents were more than proud of me. My dad told me he ended up getting his GED, and they were so proud that I was sticking to it and actually finishing and not just giving up. I took my test and was able to score high enough to take classes at the main campus, where I'd find my teachers to be Miss Constable, who has been with me through everything and never stopped believing in me, and Mr. Bill, who is so passionate about his job and pushes people to believe in themselves. He even gets so excited when people actually graduate. He brings cake for everybody. Mr. Bill always said that his students were like penguins that are too afraid to take the plunge. And what he meant by that was a lot of students wait until the last minute to take their GED test because of the fear of failure. And I, for the longest time, was terrified to take the test. After taking all of my practice tests and scoring above 150, I was still afraid of failing the real thing. Every time I saw Miss Constable after taking my practice test, she asked, "When are you taking the real one? You have to schedule your appointments. I don't want to see you in my class anymore. You can do so much better." And her support, the support of my parents, Tyler, and my amazing manager, Kenya, is what drove me to not only take my GED test, but pass them all. Oprah once said, "How do you know when you're doing something right? How do you really know that? It feels so." What I know now is that feelings are your real GPS system for life. When you're supposed to do something or not supposed to do something, your emotional guidance system lets you know. The trick is to learn to check your ego at the door and start checking your gut instead. This really stuck with me because my head was telling me, "You can't do it, you're gonna fail," and telling me everything that could possibly go wrong. But my gut and my support systems were telling me that I had it in the bag. I know everything I need to know, and I can do it. Later that day, I came home and told my mom that I had passed my first 2 tests. Immediately, she started crying, telling me she knew I could do it. Then not too long after, my dad walks in the house and my mom's screaming, "She did it, she did it." My dad just looks at both of us in tears, just so emotional, and he's like, "I knew she would. Like, why are you crying?" He's not as emotional as my mom, who I know is crying right now. But he never gave up on me. Nobody gave up on me. Not Tyler, not my mom, not my dad, not Kenya, not Miss Constable, not Michelle Lyman. I would also like to thank Michelle Lyman for helping me realize that getting my GED is only the beginning, and in fact, she's helping me in my college career. I'd also like to thank Miss Constable for supporting me and helping me through every hard time, and Mr. Bill for pushing me to take the plunge. I also would like to thank DAEL for providing the opportunity to have such an amazing graduation ceremony. After all of our hard work and hardships, failures and fears, we made it here. Dreams do not come true because you dream them. It's hard work that makes things happen. It's hard work that creates change. We've worked so hard to get where we are now. Why stop there? Our success is limitless. So as the class of 2016, this is our time to continue and succeed no matter what your dream is, no matter what stands in your way. Impossible is just a word. As Muhammad Ali said, impossible is just a big word thrown around by small men who find it easier to live in the world they've been given than to explore the power they have to change it. Impossible is not a fact, it's an opinion. Impossible is temporary. Impossible is nothing. So don't ever let something that doesn't exist keep you from success. Congratulations, the class of 2015-2016.